What is up, chappos, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is F1 2019 Career Mode, episode number 9 for the French Grand Prix. You can see straight away we've had another failed engine upgrade at a very important circuit. This is surprisingly a very power-dependent circuit. I actually feel like it's more of a power circuit than what it is aero-dependent. Simply because of the straights in the middle sector. It is so easy to get overtaken there, especially by maybe a Force India or something, so let's hopefully avoid them if we can. We made some good developments though. We had a major weight reduction upgrade pass for the car, so that should make a noticeable difference in, I don't know, just the balance of the car. Hopefully it'll help tire wear as well. A lighter car obviously means less energy is going through the car, so hopefully that should help in all aspects, but I think we're ready now for qualifying for the French Grand Prix. Let's do this.
Welcome to qualifying for this weekend's French Grand Prix. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green and the fight for pole position gets underway. With the weather as it is today, Anthony Davidson, we have, to some extent, to throw the form book out of the window. Who do you see having the advantage on this slippery, unpredictable track surface?
Traditionally, these are very Adrian Newey conditions. The Red Bull's habit of creating incredible downforce coupled with the high rake they like to run is perfect for the wet, and it's helped them close the power gap a number of times over recent years. I think Force India as well, always a bit of a dark horse in changeable conditions, and of course the McLarens have a fairly good chassis. Having said that, I don't want to make a firm prediction. More than performance, the deciding factor is going to be the timing. The level of wetness out on the track is going to constantly rise and fall, and anyone who can find that perfect window when it's at its driest will have a big advantage out there.
And that is something we'll look to exploit in this career mode, well, this qualifying session. Welcome to the French Grand Prix. We're getting straight into it here. With intermediate conditions, it's set to rain all day here on Saturday. Practice 2 and also practice 3 were fully wet as well, but I did absolutely no running because I wanted to save my intermediate tires for this session. I knew it was going to be raining today, so yeah, I'm kind of flying into this session blind. However, confidence is very high after what happened in Azerbaijan, where it was intermediate conditions in that race, and we had the pace of the leaders, so I'm pretty confident that we can have a really good qualifying here today, and we're going to make the most of it, so we'll see what we can do. This is a very different circuit to what Baku is, but if you're fast in the wet on another track, you should be fast in the wet on this track. I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, old mate Anthony Davidson was making a good point in the qualifying build-up that, you know, when it rains, it's actually a good leveler for, you know, teams that don't have good engines and power delivery. So that should help to close the power gap, I suppose, between us and the top teams. But qualifying 1 is run and done, and we find ourselves in P4. 8 tenths away from provisional pole position, but it is very encouraging nonetheless to see that we don't struggle to get out of qualifying 1, whereas in the dry we certainly do have to push ourselves to progress to the next qualifying sessions, which is a shame, but things are coming more naturally to me here now. Q2, this is the end of the session. I did a banker run on my used set of intermediate tires from the last session in Q1, and now I've got a brand new set of intermediate tires on for this session, for the end of this session in this run, and you can see we're going purple to the middle sector, 7 tenths up on our previous best, so this could be a time that solidifies us inside the top 10 and gets us through to Q3. Nice exit, a little bit of wheel spin on the run up to the line, but nothing crazy. We improved by a second, and it puts us in P3 in qualifying 2 of the French Grand Prix. Now things are starting to get a little bit more serious. We could genuinely be a contender for pole position today if we can continue to find improvement, continue to find any amounts of grip in this circuit. The more running that I get in these conditions, the more and more confident I feel in my ability in this car. It's amazing what the rain can do. I hope it rains every single qualifying session. I hope it rains every single race. Unfortunately, the race will be dry, so the form book, you'd have to say, will probably get completely thrown out the window. But it doesn't hurt to be fast in qualifying and put yourself at the front. It certainly gives us an edge heading into the race. We're 2 tenths up on our previous best, which is a 44.7. I think we did a 44.3 at the end of Q2. So that's the marker we've got to aim for if we want to be somewhere near the front. The aim still is just to out-qualify our teammate as we go purple to the middle sector once again. So for whatever reason, we are actually pretty decent on the straights, at least in qualifying and in the speed traps. But in the race, you can see we get overtaken quite easily. So that's one thing I can't really put my finger on. But anyway, we're marching on with this lap. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit of that right-hander. This really long, late apex left-hander. Very tricky to get right. We seem to gain quite a bit of time out of that one versus our last lap as we moved to 5.5 tenths up. Through the final couple of corners now, making sure you don't overdrive the car. That is probably the key to success. Second gear, nice rotation, short shift up to fourth, and then fifth, and the run up to the line. This is going to be a big improvement here, 44.0. That could put us on pole.
Nice job.
No, it's only second. So even though we beat the provisional pole time of Q2, it still wasn't enough to get us pole position for the session where it matters. But we are on the front row of the grid for the French Grand Prix. The other teams just haven't done a good enough job. Seb, though, what a stonking lap.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
Welcome to Le Castellet as we return from across the Atlantic for the 2019 French Grand Prix. Reintroduced to the Formula One calendar just last year after an absence of almost 3 decades. The circuit, Paul Ricard, where racing legends such as Alain Prost gave us some Turn 1 excitement before Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel and a commanding victory from Lewis Hamilton gave us a brilliant race last year. What, I wonder, will it have in store for us this season? Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's discuss Haas. They've had just 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
I feel like, even though the race hasn't started, we've given them a Grand Prix worth remembering already. How good is it to see Renault on the front row of the grid again? This is amazing. Of course, I can't get too ahead of myself. This is only qualifying, and it's completely different conditions. I feel like we are going to go backwards, but we do need to remember who we're actually racing today. Not the front teams. We are racing maybe the Red Bulls if we're really good in the dry, but still the aim has to be the midfield in this race. Here we go, 5 red lights, and away we go for this French Grand Prix. An absolutely terrible getaway. And I have to be honest here, guys. I did a few restarts because I thought something was wrong with my game. I tried many different throttle applications, many different techniques of getting off the start, but the AI were just mugging me off the line for no reason at all. I did kind of skip the formation lap. I don't know if that was a thing, but anyway, the starts that the AI are getting on F1 2019 so far have been absolutely shocking. There's no way you can compete, at least with no traction control and maximum or close to maximum difficulty level. Anyway, let's get on with this race. We're not really racing them anyway. We are focusing on the Red Bulls, maybe, as an upper echelon of the goal, but still the aim has to be to beat the rest of the midfield today, to be best of the rest. This is kind of the goal of Renault so far. But we're trying to put up a good fight if we can. Verstappen is right behind. He takes an avenue up the inside as I try and get a nice exit out of that long left-hander, and it doesn't work. So it left me a little bit vulnerable there. Max has run out a little bit wide on the run into the last corner. He's going defensive. We could be able to get him back here. Red Bull doesn't have the best straight line speed in the world, but his pace in the corners is just much better than ours. So we will have to probably stay in behind if we can. I'll see if I can stay with Max, use his slipstream, hopefully DRS a little bit to, drag me along and pull me away from the rest of the pack. But so far, it doesn't look likely as we skip on to lap 3. Verstappen is now 1.2 seconds away, and we're starting to fall into the clutches of the midfield. Exactly what I didn't want in this race. Looks like a lot of people who are starting this race are using the mediums as the compound of choice. I chose the given strategy by Renault It was obviously the fastest one on paper. That's why they gave me the 2 stops starting on supers. So I'm trusting them that they've got the right strategy here, but I'm not feeling confident. It's a replay with Carlos Sainz. I completely have a brain malfunction there. Into the chicane on the back straight. We were 3 wide, so I didn't know that Lucas Weber was on our inside. So I was leaving space for 1 car. I wasn't leaving space for 2 cars, and that meant for an interesting run through the chicane. Now this looks familiar of Daniel Ricciardo on the last lap of the real-life French Grand Prix. Thankfully, everyone stays on circuit there, and we can all avoid a penalty. Here comes Perez. There he is. Once again, I qualify in P2 for this Grand Prix, and still, in the early phases of this race, I find myself fighting the Mexican again. How? I can qualify last next race, and I'll still be battling Perez. It's just one of the certainties in life at this point. Meanwhile, we're getting mugged off left, right, and center, by the way. Everyone's on mediums. I'm on softs. Fresh softs, by the way. And the pace is just nowhere. Do I A, put this down to me being crap at the game, which is probably your most likely answer. B, the strategy being absolute trash. Or C, the difficulty level, again, being imbalanced, and maybe this is a really OP track for the AI in the dry. If that's the case, then how did we qualify in P2 in the wet? It's so inconsistent. You never know what you're gonna get. Feels like a box of chocolates. Forrest Gump. Does anyone get that? No one probably gets that. Probably too young for that. But anyway, we're falling like a stone here in this race. I can't help but get frustrated at the fact that we're just going nowhere in this race. I was hoping to be clear of all the midfield. I was thinking that starting at the front was going to be a real benefit for us in this race, but I just feel like we're constantly getting attacked, constantly getting mugged, that we can't even get into a rhythm. But by the same token, I'm not driving badly. I don't know. We're just going backwards, and there's no explanation for it. Look at the train behind us on the minimap. I think that goes down to last place. So somehow, we've gone from being P2 in qualifying to now being the slowest car on the grid. Somehow. It makes no sense. We got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I actually didn't realize this at the time when I was driving. So I was absolutely raging. I had no idea what was going on. In my defense, I was a little bit tired, but no excuses. So there's the replay. 5 seconds lost in the pit lane. I think this will put us towards the back in this French Grand Prix now, once everyone else makes their stops. Just checking the race director, because, yeah, like I said, at the time, I had no idea what I did. So it was speeding in the pit lane, but we've got a second 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. I did cross the white line on the entrance to the pit lane. I wonder if that was the case. But I didn't cut any corners. Not to warrant 5 seconds worth of penalty. So looks like we've been screwed over by that as well. Kimi Räikkönen is out of the French Grand Prix. Unfortunately for us, no safety car. That would have really bailed us out now. But looks like we're fighting over the wooden spoon here in this race. It's been a real fall from grace. Gone from absolute hero to zero in the space of 10 laps. And here comes, oh my god, Albon with the dive bomb of the century. He gets me, but he clashes into Lando Norris as well. I don't know if he's got damage or not. He might do, given that simulation damage is on. Let's see if Lando can mount an attack. No, he doesn't. He's going to bide his time for the moment, but I assume he will get his revenge on Albon. The Toro Rosso looks like it's probably the slowest car on career mode at the moment. The Williams still is yet to be nerfed. So until that happens, Toro Rosso is the ultra slow boy at the moment.
They seem to have an issue.
Kvyat with a problem, as Jeff was alluding to just now. So he'll be falling into our clutches. He's only a few seconds up the road, so that should be another place for us. But this extra 5-second time penalty we've got looming above our heads is a little bit worrying, as Lando looks for an avenue up the inside. My line into that really long left-hander, I take a really late apex, and sometimes that opens the door for the AI to go up the inside, like Max Verstappen did. in the opening stages. Now here comes Lando, here comes myself. It's 3 wide, is it? On the back straight, and we just about managed to come out on top. Albon actually fends off Lando Norris there, so that was actually impressive. I thought Lando had a huge amount of momentum on the run into that corner. He must have backed out of it, but Albon here looking quite slow in this phase of the Grand Prix. We're trying to find an avenue past. Lando Norris is getting impatient now, so we need to get this move done and make sure that he doesn't get back in front of us. Even Kvyat. Yeah, this is Kvyat, sorry. Did I think this was Albon? I thought it was Albon. No, it's Kvyat. He's the one with the problem. It's not straight line speed related. It's something in the corners because they've just got nothing to offer in medium speed corners. Lando with a big lockup as he gets past Kvyat, and the two Toro Rossos can scrap it out for effective last place in this race. A few more people now making their stops, including my teammate. So these are all the people on mediums who are making their first stop. That was Sergio Perez rejoining on the racing line right in front of Lando Norris. That could have been quite the hefty crash if Sergio was a little bit more placed to the left-hand side of the circuit. But here comes Norris. He's been threatening to do this for many laps now. He's finally turned the wick up, and here he goes into P13. Let's see if we can hold it around the outside. Yes, we can. Turns to the inside for the next left-hander, but Norris isn't even alongside. He completely backs out of it. So Lando has good pace, but it looks like at the moment he's just being very passive in this Grand Prix. Vettel is out, our pole sitter. So it looks like there's been a curse for the front row starters in this French Grand Prix where we're just nowhere now. I don't even know who's winning. I think it might be Valtteri Bottas. So that'll be an interesting shake-up for the championship because Charles Leclerc, I think, isn't in the podium positions either. So it looks like the championship is set to close up. But anyway, something that's not closing up is us to the midfield. We've made literally no progress, and with this 5-second time penalty in the pit lane again, that I think this will now concede us to finishing last in this French Grand Prix. One small mistake has cost us 10 seconds in a race. I really feel like it's a bit overkill. Our pace was really crap anyway today. I don't know what it was. I went for like 4 wings. Maybe I could have gone higher. I was pretty fast in a straight line, like in the speed traps, so maybe I was just not offering enough in the corners, and I was just getting mugged left, right, and center. It's really hard to get the balance right, either with the AI difficulty and sometimes the setups, I guess. But it is still early days in F1 2019. We've got a lot of time to rectify our issues. But on the whole, I really felt like I drove well today. Just didn't have the luck and the... I don't know. I just didn't think we were able to show what we were truly capable of today. So from here, we're finding a way with George Russell for the minor placings. I think to save face a little bit in the rivalry with my teammate, with Daniel Ricciardo, it's actually just ticked over to a new rivalry. So since we're not going to score points anyway, I think I'm actually going to pit for a new set of tyres, get fastest lap, and re-get some points off of him. Because at the moment, I'm getting my ass kicked in the rivalries. Meanwhile, getting my ass kicked on circuit as well, as we tried to find an avenue around George Russell. Gives us the big squeeze through the middle sector, and I think we finally got him. But this fight is kind of in vain because we're going to pit anyway. But yeah, it was kind of fun to have it anyway. What's happening now? Lap 21. We're just waiting now for the right time to pit.
We're trailing our teammate by 34.6 seconds. They're on old hards. They're in 9th. The time last lap was a 1 minute 36.0.
34 seconds to Ricciardo. I know we lost 10 seconds in the pit lane, but where has the other 24 seconds of time loss come from? What a bad Grand Prix. We've gone from the stunning heights of Baku and Monaco to here, where everything just seems hopeless in the race. It's just been one of those days. I have had a lot of late nights and early starts. Maybe the tiredness, to some degree, contributed to getting the speeding penalty So perhaps that is just catching up with me, but no excuses. Let's see if we can salvage this race somewhat as we get lapped by Lewis Hamilton. Let's see if we can get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix and re-overtake Hamilton to finish on the lead lap. Lewis is looking quite slow, but that is understandable given that he's on his last lap of his race, and I think probably on the hard compound tyres, whereas us we're on fresh softs. So we're going to feel like $1 million compared to Hamilton, who's just wishing that this Grand Prix would end already. In the slipstream, DRS will fly past Hamilton. We'll probably get given the blue flag once again because the F1 game doesn't recognize when you unlap yourself, so we'll have to build a bit of a gap as well, but we'll see what we can do. The personal best so far is a 35.0, which is quite slow, so let's see if we can get into the 33s. I think a 33.5 is the current fastest lap of the race, so we're going to have to find quite the gain to get there. Purple in the middle sector. It seems to be the part of the circuit where we lose a bit of time. Again, just a lot of understeer, and this is even on fresh tyres, so I think a sincere lack of downforce was the problem for me in the dry conditions, unfortunately. So that's something we'll need to get right going forward. I really thought that this was going to be a circuit where low downforce would be king, but obviously I was wrong. Through the final corner, absolutely no hints of wheel spin across the line, and that is a 1:33.1 as Lewis Hamilton wins the French Grand Prix. What a weird race. We're actually going to catch up to Albon again. Such is the pace on the softs. Bloody hell. But anyway, it's P18. Last. No points. Let's move on to the next race.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team. And they certainly deserve it.
There he is. Lewis Hamilton wins the French Grand Prix, just like he did in real life. For me, I can't wait to get on the plane, get back home, and get geared up for the next race already. The Austrian Grand Prix. What a disaster. I can't... You can never truly know what's going to happen when you head to a Grand Prix, at least in the early stages of F1 2019. You could be challenging right at the front, or you could be dead last. It just, the inconsistency it just amazes me at this point. But anyway, Lewis Hamilton wins. He was one of the few people in the field to do a one-stop. He only just won by a couple of seconds over Charles Leclerc, so that was quite the interesting development. We got a 3-second time penalty towards the end as we were pushing our luck a little bit, but in the end, no points. Butler and Weber came together in the race. A couple of F2 rivals. That would have been an interesting battle to watch, but unfortunately I didn't watch that one. But that's been this Grand Prix. Let's move on to the next race in Austria, where we now have untimely contract negotiations.
What on earth was that performance? Come on, this isn't bumper cars at the fairground. Your results and conduct here matter, so pay more attention. We can't afford too many races like that.
My timing, I've got to say, is just absolutely impeccable. At the French Grand Prix, the home of Renault, with contract negotiations looming, I go and have the worst race of my career. So, by my luck or reckoning, we might be kicked out of the team here. We've got a lot of resource points, so it would probably be my luck that we get kicked out now. But we shall see. Negotiations can now begin. Let's see what we can get away with. So I'm going to try and push for good terms. The team is still expecting a lot from me with the expected qualifying position and the race position. So we're just going to keep them honest and keep them realistic. Like, honestly, first few races of the season, they wanted me to qualify third. Are you joking? But anyway, we're going to go for some perks. We're going to go for race bonus, obviously, upgrade speed. Pit stop efficiency isn't really that important to me, but we're going to push for first driver. Obviously, we didn't get that, so we're going to have to lower the expectations a little bit. So the first thing we're going to get rid of is probably the pit stop efficiency. We can sack that off, and maybe even second driver, go back to that if that's an issue. But yeah, eventually they accepted the contract, but it was pretty much on the same terms as what we had before. So that's a bit of a step backwards for us, but that's fine. At least we have the resource points to continue to upgrade the car. So speaking of, let's have a look at what we need to upgrade. We have the failed engine upgrade heading into this race, so that might be a target area. What I'm also looking at is the front downforce upgrade. That'll be a major upgrade, so I think that probably makes sense that we go for that today, given that we have so much, points in the bank. In terms of other upgrades, I was actually struggling a little bit for ERS deployment. I always felt like I was out of battery, but I feel like the engine power, the raw power, is probably more important at this stage in the career mode. But bear in mind, I will be targeting ERS upgrades very, very soon. The battery just drains so much faster than what it does on 2018. The ERS upgrades last year weren't really that important, but this year it's a game changer, and I feel like that would really help us in the race. But regardless, thank you so much for watching, guys. I can only apologize for the driving today. I really can't put it down to just one thing. I think it was just a combination of things for the results. So hopefully we can bounce back better in the next race, the Austrian Grand Prix. Who knows, there might even be some driver transfers heading into this one as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for a brand new video very soon.